So the conversation today is between Andrew and Rachel. Andrew Warden, for those of you who don't know him, which doesn't seem to be like anybody, but okay, was the CMO at Semrush and is now a VP of Marketing at Adobe, and Rachel Thornton, the CMO at Adobe. So I started by asking the question when I got here. So by the way, I'm Maryam Banikarim. I chair the Wall Street Journal CMO Council, so thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you. This is a recent acquisition. So I always like asking about that because having been a CMO myself for 25 years, you know, I've been through several acquisitions, having been acquired or vice versa. So I'm going to ask you both, what do you think the purpose of the acquisition was, and what has that change been like for the two of you? And then I also want to just start with the new product that you've launched as a result of the acquisition, which happened pretty quickly, if I may say so myself. So why don't I start with you? Why don't you just explain sort of what that experience has been like?
Sure. So as a CM, I've been an officer for 10 years, coming in. It's been a very exciting time, very thrilling time. The way that I think about the thesis and the really backstory with this acquisition, and we've been working on this for well over a year and having just closed 2 months ago, I really see this as one of the last missing puzzle pieces in the Adobe stack, right? The world's largest proprietary database in terms of SEO authority, and now, of course, with AI search, over 300 million prompts. No one has this type of data. And now Adobe and Semrush have this type of data. And so I think there's an amazing complement here, not only because the cultural fit between the two companies, I'll be honest, even I was so strong and so surprised at how strong it is. And what is so fascinating is now that we've brought that proprietary database to the stack, we are now with this new product launch, which again, it's a really big deal, closing in 2 months, and we're already bringing to market. That means the engineering teams have been working literally nonstop. Marketing teams are running to ground.
And technically, you're not allowed to work on these things before the deal closes. I mean, having been through this, that's a thing.
But I will tell you, and there are people in the audience who will back me up, that literally an hour after we closed, we were already working on it. So we were well set up. And we've been very warmly welcomed into the Adobe family. And most critically for our customers, now our joint customers, we now have the tools not only to identify the gaps in SEO, GEO, AI search, but also most crucially, the ability to go and do something about it. Mm-hmm. And that it does not exist on the market. And I will be willing to bet that no one will catch us for about 2 years.
Okay, well, we're going to hold that thought and come back to that. Rachel, what about for you? Like, what was this acquisition about, and what has that unlocked for you?
As we talked about a little bit upstairs, I think the topic that I have discussed with CMOs over the last year or so has been brand visibility, discoverability. I think as a CMO, and I've done this, my entire career, I think there are some pretty canonical marketing work streams like discovery, like SEO, and those changed drastically about 18 months ago, right?
Sorry, for people who may not have any idea. Okay, maybe they were living under a rock. It doesn't matter. We're not going to judge. We don't judge here.
If you think about how, up until ChatGPT or Perplexity or Claude or Gemini, most folks obviously would go and they would search for something, right? And as a marketer, you had a pretty well-defined work stream for, I know how to develop SEO, I know how to augment that with search engine marketing, so paid ads, and then I know if I do these things, it was absolutely a recipe. If I do these things, I will rank first in organic and/or I will buy an ad that ensures that I'm seen. Now, LLMs change that. When people go to ChatGPT and they look for something, that fundamentally changes that game. So for a lot of marketers over the last 18 months, it has been this constant, how do I show up? How do I show up better? Why am I not showing up? Why is it, I did all this work and now my customer's over here. And when they look for, I was sitting next to the CEO of Olaplex last night talking about hair care, when she's like, hey, now what happens? Do I know how people are searching for my products? Why am I not showing up? How do I need to think about this? And so this has been top of mind for every CMO that I talk to, every customer, and they want to know not just what's happening, am I showing up or not showing up, but now what do I do about it?
Well, because it's one thing to know the problem, but your job as a CMO is to fix it.
Exactly. And so now you have to think, how do I show up? What do I do about the fact that I had a really well understood work stream here? Now what does the work stream over here look like? Is it content that I'm building? Is it content that I'm influencing? Mm-hmm. So if you think about ingestion of content, if you think about where all this information comes from, right? LLMs are taking content and data from everywhere. That's what, basically scraping or ingestion looks like, right? So now it's like I put this content out there. I have product documentation, for example. It's out there. It's being absorbed. But the other thing that's happening is bad press or customer complaints, or on Reddit, there's an entire thread on your product. You have to know that, and you have to have a way to think, how do I basically take my content supply chain, map it to my brand visibility needs, and then think about that entire customer experience? And I think this is what the power of these two companies brings.
So, Andrew, I was pushing you on this because one of the things I've noticed is that you should do this for your own name, if you search yourself, one of the first things that happens is actually now what shows up is your Instagram clips, which didn't used to be the case. It used to be much more traditional stuff would show up. So you're working with influencers, which I thought was fascinating. Mm-hmm. So why don't you talk about that? Because to the point that you're making, Rachel, what's showing up is Reddit, Instagram things. 100%. So you have to care about the content that you have less control over that's really created by others.
So I love this question because we had the chief...
You're welcome.
Thank you very much. We had messy. We had this morning, we had a discussion with the chief communications officer from Reddit actually here. So we had a discussion, we were talking a lot about Reddit. So Reddit, number 2 most cited and ingested by LLMs. And so your question on working with influencers, this is also something that as we've been working more and more closely together, it's like, how do we expand on social presence, on influencer presence with Adobe and Adobe on Adobe? And at Semrush for years, it's really interesting. Right now, what's happening in the broader sense is really this. I call it this kind of cheeky revenge of the nerds moment. This kind of SEO is the resurgence of very technical marketing.
Revenge of the nerds started like 20 years ago. So
it's happening. It's happening again right now. So that's just my opinion.
All right, you'll have to catch me up later.
My point though is that in our community and in the search community, it's not enormous, but it's a pretty big community. Several, I'd say at least 500,000, 1 million people that are very, very energized on this topic. And so we work with influencers who typically have their own consulting agencies. And trust me, I tried to poach several of them, but they can figure out they can make more money on their own than I maybe can help with them with. But with influencers, we firstly work with them to not only rate and review and moderate. And it's not always financial. It's not always about a scratching of a back thing, right? One of the things I would like to believe as we came together as two companies is also this kind of cult-like following that we built for the brand, for the Semrush brand. So, Semrush is a marketing company, was and is, a marketing company for marketers. So it's very natural that we would have influencers as part of that ecosystem, that our socials are actually much more B2C themed, even though we are absolutely a B2B company. And we have a very good relationship with legal. I'll put it this way, because we get away with a lot, and it's very difficult. And this is also something I've already been trying to seed with Adobe, because it's like it's an attention economy that we live in. And so whether that's SEO, whether it's AI search, GEO, brand visibility, it's all about attention.
Well, it's an interesting thing. And I think I was sharing with you that in a very small scale, I launched a podcast about a year ago. And having been a former CMO, somebody I knew before who'd been very good in SEO approached me to help me do some GEO. And I had no idea what he was talking about. But quickly what he told me was that he was able to, in the world of LLMs, get highly ranked because he was generating a lot of content, which was placed in a lot of places that were being picked up. And it was one of those moments where I began to realize, there's a game to be played. And that's really what you're describing, right? Because everything seems like it's happening organically, but at this moment of time, there is this advantage to knowing how to play this game specifically.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's, it can seem a little bit like, I don't, what's going on? It's a little bit of a black box, but it's not, right? And this is the beauty of what Semrush has built is you can absolutely understand how your brand is performing And then you can say, great, now what are the things I need to do? So it's not something that is unknowable. It's absolutely knowable. You can say, this type of content helps me. This type of content, how does my community work help me? What about my influencers or my evangelists? So yes, absolutely, it's knowable. But I think it's still new enough that a lot of brands, a lot of marketers are like, okay, but now help me figure it out.
But what you're also describing is a first mover advantage. I mean, we all know that when something new comes onto the fold, if you're early to figuring it out, there's an advantage to that.
And right now there are kind of, I would say, 2 or maybe 3 camps of CMOs, like at least the people I speak with. So one camp is I'm not going to take any action because I'm afraid I'm going to break something more. And or this is some kind of fad and it's going to go away because humans will prevail or something like this. Okay, it's
wow, because I had lunch with Will.i.am and he was like predicting robots. So
I'm going to say the other 2. There are 2 others.
Fine.
Okay, it's just one view. By the way, I wasn't saying that that's what I'm advocating for. I'm just saying that's one.
You were at the lunch, so
I was there. Thank you very much. And there's a kind of in the middle where it's like, okay, we're gonna reassign resources. We're gonna stare at the problem. We're gonna work the problem. And then there's, I would say, another tranche where you have CMOs who say, okay, we're all in on GEO. We don't care about SEO or other things. We only care about some of these things. And what's happening really, you're right, it's the first mover advantage. The people who are figuring it out are absolutely the ones winning. What I'm noticing is that the farther that way on the spectrum, however you look at it, we are seeing clients come back to us and say, okay, sorry, we went way too far in one direction. Right now we know that without the trust signals that SEO sends to LLMs, you have to have both. If you don't invest in both, you're completely cooked.
So it's not an either or, is what you're saying.
Exactly. It's both, and it's addressing humans and agents. So
Rachel, one of the things you said upstairs was that in this new world, there is the community that you know, right? So if you're in B2B specifically, you might think that you really only need to focus on your core customers, right? It's a very efficient marketing system. But in this new world, that's different because the people who are on the outskirts who may not know about you matter more than they did before. Can you tell us what that means?
So I was at the, I think it was on Tuesday, we did a sort of a B2B summit. It was myself, the CMO for Jones Lang LaSalle, so they're a big real estate development company, LinkedIn, OpenAI. And even though in that room it's a bunch of B2B people and you would think, oh, well, they understand things like account-based marketing, which is highly targeted, paid media, which is highly targeted, you still realize unless you are someone who can immediately call up JLL, Jones Lang LaSalle, you're like, I need to rent, several 100,000 square feet of office space, I'm going to them. Then they are deeply now dependent on how do they make sure their brand appears. Now, it's great for JLL if someone in Chicago, for example, is like, I've used them before, I'll use them again. So check. They have X number of customers for whom JLL is their ride or die. But not enough of them that it's like every single month, every single quarter, every single year, I'm going to be comfortable in my objective, my revenue numbers. I'm going to have to figure out my brand matters. It matters to this type of person, and this is how I ensure visibility and discoverability. I have my core advocates, but I also want to make sure in concentric circles, moving out from those core advocates, I am showing up in the right places, in the right context, in the right moments, so that they're like, yeah, they're the ones I would choose no matter what.
And are you also finding what Andrew is saying in terms of 3 pockets of kinds of customers, like people who get that and people who really still don't see it?
Yeah, no, I think it's, I don't know that it's anyone that doesn't see. There could be people even now that are like,
you can totally contradict him. I give you permission.
Please do.
Oh, it's not happening.
I blame Maryam.
I think everyone knows it's happening, but I do think it's more, how do I navigate it, or how do I strike the right balance? Like SEO doesn't go away. You have to think of this as it's almost like a continuum. Where am I showing up in SEO? Where am I showing up in AEO? Like, how do I make sure I'm in the right places? And it's actually more than that. It's sort of thinking about your customer, starting with your customer, working from that point, ensuring that if my customer is searching SEO, if my customer is searching ChatGPT, I am still where they are.
It's that, and to agree with you that the idea again that around SEO, 70% of, so even before LLMs came to the picture in AI search, Semrush itself. By the way, imagine being CMO of a company whose raison d'être is to help others be found in online search.
It's in the name.
Literally. But 2 years ago, this CMO, was called up by the collar by the board, being like, "What the hell is going on with our traffic? What's happening with our funnel? It's all disappearing." What I'm getting to the point on is that it took us about 18 months to really sift through the fog on all of this to see where things have settled. But even now, 70% of the Semrush, 70% of the traffic that's actually driven, the visibility that's driven in AI overviews as well as in GPT, comes from the Semrush blog, because that's been residual for the last 12 years. So of course we're working with influencers, we're working on all of our Reddit communities, we're working on everything across the wide array, and I can't wait until we integrate more and do that more as a broader team. But at the end of the day, 70% of what is being influenced and how we're cited and mentioned, it's enormous figure. So this idea that, even though things have upended and changed, it's like there's still some element of stability there. And I think that's the part that has really taken us about 18 months to arrive at.
So what does the dashboard of today look like?
I think that instead of focusing on, obviously metrics matter, I would never not say that, but I think what becomes much more important are the outcomes you're driving for your business with your customers, right? So how, instead of saying, what was my volume, you begin to think more along the lines of, how often am I being cited? What is my share of that prompt? Like, what are the prompts I want to make sure I'm capturing share on? I think that is much more important now than just how many websites, what's my share of volume. I also think what has become fascinating, we talked about this a little bit, is the concept of you now have two audiences for a lot of your content. You have humans and you have the agents. So you have to start thinking, okay, what is being looked at? What is being ingested? And we look at this, it's interesting. We've been doing this on Adobe side, Adobe.com, business on Adobe.com. We have Experience League, which is our community, our evangelism site. So we're really looking at what's that traffic look like for humans, for agents. And understanding that, because the more you can sort of think about it as, I have now this new audience, agents. How do I inform them? How do I educate them? I think that becomes important. And I think taking that stance also then helps you understand what are the new things I want to be looking at? What are the new outcomes I want to be looking at as part of my, my measurement system? I think dashboard's a little bit of an old-fashioned term, but
what's the new term? What should the new term be?
I have the new term. Okay, so the new term, because you know where I'm going. So remember years ago, ROAS, right? So
years ago.
What's wrong with years ago?
We're going with like 18 months ago, but okay, go ahead.
I think it's older than 18 months. ROAS? I'm sorry, we've all been doing this for long enough. Okay, anyway, agree to disagree. Fine. My point is, with brand visibility, again, this new product we launched, we are the first to market on how to actually measure. So everyone has been talking this week about the funnels collapse, clicks are done. We all get it, or some of us get it. There's three camps, doesn't matter. The point is that there is no way to actually measure. And imagine being an SEO or a performance marketer, someone in search engine marketing, and imagine going to your boss and you can't actually prove value anymore. It's there. It's some kind of dark matter. It's something that exists, but you no longer have a proven attribution path.
Right.
So one of the things that I'm so proud of the engineering teams, to be super honest and genuine, I was so surprised, actually. Again, 2 months after close, not only do we have this new product, but return on brand visibility. And this goes from prompt to conversion. It doesn't exist anywhere else. And I'm still trying to figure out how to say it in an elegant way, like ROAS.
You're trying to figure out how to market it.
I don't know yet. I'm trying to figure out how to market it. That's all right. Hey, there's a live audience.
He's open.
I had one suggestion earlier today.
Oh, no.
I'm trying it out. We have a good crowd of creative people.
Okay.
But in all seriousness, it's a huge deal.
Was return on brand visibility the one suggestion?
No, no, because I already said
We're watching naming.
No, it was a very cheeky Londoner who said it was return on prompt investment, but it sounded like ropey, and that has a connotation in the UK.
Yeah, that doesn't sound good.
Sorry if there's any offense, but it's very interesting. I said as someone who lived in London for about 8.5 years, I don't think that's gonna. No, but thank you so much for your suggestion.
Is he calling you out? What's happening?
No, it wasn't David. No.
So, a final word, right? We've now been here. Today's the end of day Wednesday. We all know what Cannes is like. Exactly. Everybody's ready to pass out.
Literally falling off the chair.
Yeah. And, honestly, when the festival started 20 plus years ago, it was really about the creative process. It's a much more complicated game than it used to be. What is the big takeaway you've had from this week that we should all sort of also walk away from? Like, what have you learned? Because what you're talking about is something you know. What is the thing that you've taken away that I think would be helpful for all of us in this room?
Oh, absolutely. That brand matters. I think it matters almost more than anything else now. Like with all of the conversation around AI, with all the conversation around the agents, and believe me, I love the agents. I think it's amazing. We do events for agents. It's
yes.
cool.
I mean, I always want to ask you about that. Like, you had a conference for agents by agents
so
with no
cool.
humans. I feel very Matrix, but
yeah,
okay.
I know. But honestly, at the end of it, your brand still deeply matters, whether it's B2B or B2C. Having the ability to say, I choose you. Like I had lunch this afternoon, and the CMO of Pepsi was there, and he's like, "Yeah, I have to be top of mind, no matter who, where, what, because it's good to make sure you've navigated all of the prompts that are germane to your business. But if it can be just, I choose Pepsi. Pepsi's my ride or die. That's what you want, and I think that matters whether you're B2B or B2C."
I would say the thing that I learned this week, and of course I'm biased on the practice area that I've been in for a long time, but it is amazing to hear how curious people are about how to solve these problems with search and discoverability. And I've actually seen a level of vulnerability that I actually have, and I think that's because we're all in person and we're of course humans and not agents, and we're all complementary at the end of the day. But it has been amazing to hear the stories of people who are just starting out, who are trying, who are asking for advice and opinions, or like, hey, my CEO just sent me this screenshot. Like, can you help? I mean, so for me, it's been a really interesting learning to hear just how much focus there is, but that also gives me so much energy behind what we just did together the last 2 months, and last year rather, before close. And it gives me a lot of excitement for the next several years. Yeah.
Well, I think that's a great place to end. I will say, having done 40 interviews with CMOs, that I'm really struck by how tech CMOs now have a lot of permission around brand. Having been a tech CMO myself, where it was very difficult to convince the C-suite about the value of brand, pretty much all CMOs I talk to in tech now feel that their C-suite understands that. So
I would say all you have to do is look at the job listings on OpenAI's website in their business site, and they have their new Colin, the new CMO. Yeah, look at those titles, and they are literally canonical enterprise brand marketing titles. So even OpenAI has decided, we have to invest in this. So.
And I think I saw just a few days ago SEO manager, for several.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm just putting it out. Just saying it. So yeah. Anyway.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us for the conversation, and enjoy rosé.
Yes. Please hang around. Thank you.